What is up, you guys? This is All Any Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you a video on the Alchemist. So this video, I'm going to be showing you a rotation that I normally go with for the Alchemist, but I'll also be explaining each ability and how they work and how you should be really using it or focusing on them. So let's go ahead and take a look at the abilities. So you only have one stance, which is your basic stance, and then your abilities, you have Predatory Ectoplasm, Stimulant Injection, Biotrap, Protective Shell, Combustible Solution, Energy Shower, Alchemic Terminal, Acidic Solution, Healing Essence, Deadly Experiment as your finisher, and then your talent, you have Power of Light. So before we start with any of this, I just want to say the symbol that you really need to get or focus on having is Hone Technique, and I'll explain why later, but Hone Technique is the one you're going to want to have by far for the Alchemist. So for Predatory Ectoplasm, it says the enemy is attacked by 2 blobs of ectoplasm that inflict 2.79 million damage on impact. Increases the damage of the next use of the ability by 33% for 2 seconds. The effect stacks up to 3 times. Activates Impulse Charge. So when you summon it 3 times, that's 99% more damage on the 3rd ectoplasm. You don't really have to worry about using the Predatory Ectoplasm as much. You can use it regardless if you want, but it does use 600 resources, so just keep that in mind. Next, you have Stimulant Injection. Increases might of 3 allies in a 30-yard radius for 8 seconds by 50% of the Alchemist's might. Attack classes or attack class allies take priority. By activating the Impulse Charge, the Alchemist reduces the cooldown of that ability by 4 seconds. The ability recharges 2 times faster out of combat. At the end of the effect, these allies get wariness for 8 seconds, which prevents them from receiving stat boost effects of active abilities of support classes. The ability of support classes that transfer might do not stack with each other. Once the ability is used, no one in your group can use it for 60 seconds. So Stimulant Injection is going to be a huge damage boost and health boost for your allies. Normally you would want to have someone who's probably the 3rd highest level in your group playing the Alchemist, 2nd or the 3rd highest, just because you want your number 1 DPS, or you want the strongest class or strongest player to be your strongest DPS, so that way you can burn the enemies faster. But if you have an Alchemist that's also a high level, then they're going to be giving that the highest player, whatever, highest DPS player, a lot more damage buff. Sorry, I was trying to say boost and buff at the same time. So the way it would work is it'll give you half of what your might is, basically. So, or half of your might would be given to your allies. So let's say you're at 200,000 might, so that means you're going to be giving 100,000 might to your allies that are affected by this. So if you have the strongest ally that, let's say, has 300,000 might, he's gonna get an extra 100,000 and he'll be at 400,000 might right there. You have to make sure they are near you though when you use this. Well, I mean, it's a 30-yard radius, so I guess you have some room. You have Protective Shell. So Protective Shell is basically a shield. It says protects an ally from damage equal to 31% of the Alchemist max health and removes control effects. Protective Shell completely absorbs the first attack. If the Protective Shell is pierced, it will immediately recharge. So the way you would be able to lock on and apply this shield to any other allies but yourself is you would have to hold L2 and tap L1, or the left bumper. So you would hold L2 and just tap L1, so that way you can scroll through your allies. Unfortunately, you can't go up or down, it just goes down. It just goes all the way down and then comes all the way back up as soon as it gets to the last person. So when you use Protective Shell, you normally would want to use it on a tank. Normally both Lightbinder and Alchemist would want to rotate their shields on the tank, the Paladin of the Night, just so that way they aren't taking as much damage, and then they'll also be able to rotate it with their shield. Other than that, I mean, you can apply it to the weakest player on your group, that has a low amount of health. or you can just not apply it to anyone except for yourself. If you apply it to yourself, you don't have to use L2 and L1. You just press circle and it applies it to yourself. Next, you have Biotrap. It's a 2-minute and 40-second cooldown. The Alchemist throws 3 flasks. The central one pulls the enemies to the point of the impact. The next one inflicts 8.44 million damage, and the last one increases the damage to enemies by 40% for 12 seconds. So this is not a damage buff for your allies. I don't believe it is. I'm pretty sure that the third flask does let your allies inflict 40% more damage to the enemies that are affected. So I guess that could be. If it's not if it doesn't work like that, then it doesn't. I just know for a fact that stimulant injection and energy shower are going to be damage buffs. But yeah, I mean, I don't really use Biotrap that much anyway, so I don't worry about it too much, especially because of how long of a cooldown it is. But I would always apply this to bosses. So if you can apply it to the boss, then apply it to the boss. Next, you have Energy Shower. Increases the damage and movement speed of the Alchemist and all allies in a 20-yard radius by 30% for 9 seconds, making dashes free and removing negative effects. Once the ability is used, no one in your group can use it for 80 seconds. So with this, it kind of works the same way Stimulant Injection works. But with it, you want to make sure you have your allies kind of close up to you, because 20-yard radius really isn't that big. You want them to be pretty close. At least you want your top DPSs to be close. Really, you want everyone to be close to you, because there's no limit on how many players can be affected by this. There is a limit with Stimulant Injection, which is only up to 3 other allies. But Energy Shower, it affects everyone, and it's for 9 seconds. And it doesn't give you wariness either. You can also use Energy Shower for like speed runs. If you have dashes, you can just keep using, or obviously everyone has dashes, but if you have like a Pegasus or the what is it called, anything that really gives you lets you use dashes on a mount, pretty much. If you use Energy Shower, you get unlimited dashes for 9 seconds, so you'll be able to just zoom right by everything pretty much. Next, you have Combustible Solution and Acidic Solution. So these two are going to go hand in hand with each other. So with Combustible Solution, this is pretty much the AoE ability, and you get 220 restores. You restore 220 catalyst or points of catalyst, which is your resource. And then Acidic Solution is your single target ability, which restores 100 points of catalyst. But with Acidic Solution, what it's going to do is, well, actually, it's kind of hard to explain. So the way you do it, you have to use Combustible Solution first. So you can either apply all 5 stacks of Combustible Solution, or you can just use 1 Combustible Solution and then use Acidic Solution. So when you use 1 Combustible Solution, it'll do AoE damage on the enemies, but then if you use Acidic Solution right after, what it'll do is it'll do like a nice little AoE ability as well, especially because Acidic Solution is a single target ability. So, but what you can do, what I normally do is I just try to get my stacks up first. So I get my 8 stacks of Acidic Solution up first, and then I use Combustible Solution. And then when you use Combustible Solution, you can go up to 5 stacks of Combustible Solution. And each hit with Combustible Solution is going to be always AoE. And then after that, you would go back and use Acidic Solution, and so forth and so forth. Next, you have Alchemic Terminal, which is a 1-minute cooldown. The Alchemic sets up a terminal filled with protective gas. All allies in a 40-yard radius can use the terminal to gain 100% immunity to damage and control effects for 4 seconds. Once the ability is used, no one in your group can use it for 60 seconds. So it would be a smart idea not to have 2 alchemists in your group, because if you have 2 alchemists, one alchemist might be using the Alchemic Terminal when you shouldn't be using it, because you don't want to use this whenever you want to use it, when you have to use it. For example, if there's not a one-shot phase, but a boss does a lot of damage to you guys, to your whole team, that's when if you know the boss is going to do a lot of damage or something, or there's just a bunch of AoE like fire or something on the ground, then that's when you're going to want to use Alchemic Terminal, so that way you can negate all that damage for those 4 seconds. And then also the same thing goes for pretty much all your buffs. So stimulant injection, biotrap, energy shower, and alchemic terminal. If you have two alchemists, then well, the only abilities you'd be able to use without them using it is predatory ectoplasm, protective shell, combustible solution, and acidic solution. Next, you have healing essence. So healing essence is an 8-minute cooldown. It says the alchemist restores 40% health to all allies in a 7-yard radius and removes negative effects from them every 4 seconds. The same ally cannot be healed more than once every 8 minutes. Healing essence also restores 80% of incoming damage to the alchemist for the next 12 seconds. So this is gonna be the ability that you're gonna want to use when you notice that everyone's got pretty low health or at least half health. Um, if you're gonna use the healing essence, make sure you call out that you're gonna use it. So you would say, I'm gonna heal on the tank. I'm gonna heal at the corner or on the boss, or everyone gather on the boss. Blah blah blah. Just come up with some sort of some signal or whatever that you're gonna heal. Let everyone know, because you want everyone to come in and make use of it, because it's an 8-minute cooldown. So if someone misses out on those heals, then that sucks. Then you have your finisher and your talent. Power of Light increases the damage dealt by the character and their allies in a 12-yard radius by 20%. So if the allies are within your radius of being in your Power of Light, then they'll get an automatic 20% damage buff right there. And this also, the Revenant can also make use of this. They don't even have to be in the radius, they just have to have a support class in their group. So Lightbinder or Alchemist being in the Revenant's group, the Revenant will automatically have this applied to them without even being in the circle. So normally if you're using Power of Light, Power of Light's going to activate automatically when you're in combat anyways. But when you're in combat, you want to make sure you're kind of close to your DPSs. You don't have to worry about being close to the tank, because the tank doesn't necessarily have to put out a lot of damage. They can put out a lot of damage, so you can be close to them. But it would be more ideal to stay away from the boss and be closer to the ranged DPS classes. So back to the symbols with the hone technique. The reason why I'm suggesting you to use hone technique, if you can get hone technique, is because you'll be able to activate the creeping horror proc like a lot more often, rather than it being like every few, like 15, 20, 30 seconds, whatever. You'll see it proc like maybe every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds. So it's gonna be super useful to have. But yeah, if you can't get it, then don't worry about it. But if you can get it, if you already have it unlocked, definitely you want to use this for your alchemist. If you're playing Lightbinder, obviously I wouldn't worry about using hone technique. I would just use protective dome. So we're gonna just go over, I'm gonna just show you what a lot of the abilities look like, and then I'm gonna show you my like quote sort of DPS rotation, I guess. So L2 circle, which is gonna be the protective gas. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to drop the gas on the ground like that, and allies in a certain radius can make use of it. You just press X or A and you get 4 seconds of immunity. So like I said, you only want to use this when you know you're going to need it, when you're going to need the immunities. Next you have L2 square. I forgot what L2 square was. My bad, you guys. L2 square was biotrap. So biotrap apparently pulls, but I don't think I've ever actually used it on enemies. Okay, I see. That's interesting. I don't think I've really made use of it before, so I can't really tell you how it works. Let me see. Yeah, so I can't really tell you how it works. But it doesn't matter because I don't really use it anyways. So we're going to go ahead and skip that and go to energy shower and stimulant injection. So I'm going to show you what those look like. So stimulant injection is your damage buff. Like I said, you're going to want to have your top DPS kind of near you when you're using it. So you would use that, and then you would also use L2 triangle. when you use L2 triangle, you need resources. So if you don't have resources, you're just gonna have to shoot at enemies with R2 or R1. So when you use it, you're gonna use triangle, then L2 triangle. And then when you use L2 triangle, obviously you're gonna use up resources. It's gonna use up 25% of your resource. And then you're gonna have a damage buff on you. You won't know, or you will know. It'll be on the bottom left corner of your screen. But yeah. So anyways, with the rotation now, the way I go about it, I use one R1 ability first. So I use R1 first, so it does an AoE, and then it applies this one stack, and then I use R2, so it does AoE again, and then I just continue with R2 afterwards. So that way you get the 8 stacks. As you can see under the enemy's name or health, it has 8 stacks, and you use R1 and it does another AoE right there. And then you'll see the stacks on the enemy's health bar. And the AoE, it'll affect all the nearby enemies. It'll give stacks to all the enemies. And then you just do that. Now, as you can see, I have Ectoplasm or Creeping Horror procced on my screen. So, like I said, with Hone Technique, you'll get that to proc as much as possible. When you're fighting a boss, it would be more ideal to use your damage buffs first. So when you're in a group of like if you're in a group with allies or solo, you just use your damage buffs, and then you're gonna start spamming Creeping Horror or Ectoplasm, and then you would use your stacks. And then as soon as all that's done, you're gonna just wanna build up your resources again, so that way you can build up Creeping Horror. I mean, not Creeping Horror, the Ectoplasm, so that way you can keep spamming Ectoplasm, just like that. And then sometimes you'll have that proc too. The Creeping Horror would proc. And then you would end up getting your Divine Weapon a proc, yada yada yada. For the support, when you're playing support and you're using this symbol, you would just use the R1 3 times and then drop it down. When you drop it down, you get immunity for, I believe it's 4 seconds from that. And that's pretty much it. Also, I guess I'll show you the healing ability. It's an 8-minute cooldown. So when let's say everyone's injured, everyone's got about 40% health left or something, less than half health bar, you would call everyone to go near the tank or go away from the boss, or come back to where you are, or call out a spot, like let's say go to the middle or go to the corner. And then when everyone's there, when you notice everyone is there, you would use L2 R1. You don't have to hold it, you just activate it, and then it does this. And then it'll heal everyone 40% more health. So that's pretty much it with the Alchemist. Like I said, there's really not that big of a rotation for the Alchemist. All you're really doing is you want to make sure you keep up your buffs whenever you can activate them. That's when you want to activate them. You want to make sure you get those stacks on too on the bosses or the enemies. So make sure you're looking at their health bar. And whenever you see the Creeping Horror proc, just go ahead and activate that. And then when you notice you have a lot of resources, I would say when you have at least 50% resources, that's when you're gonna start spamming Ectoplasm. So that's pretty much it with the Alchemist. If you have any questions or concerns about this build or anything, or not build but rotation, I guess, just let me know down in the comment section. If you have any questions about anything else, also let me know. If this video helped you out at all, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see more stuff, more Skyforge videos, or just really any other videos, because I'll be going over other games such as Terra. Go ahead and hit that sub button and hit that bell. If you want to ask me questions but you're not on YouTube, go ahead and ask me on Twitter as well, at AllDayAnyDay1. And that's pretty much it. So like I said, if this helped you out, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. This is AllDayAnyDay1 on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.